Welcome everyone that is joining us for our first Learning Coaches orientation of this school year. I am so excited that you have come to learn with us and help learn how you can be the best support for your students in their academic journey here at the primary campus at LSOA. So I should be speaking to kindergarten, first and second grade learning coaches. So thank you for joining. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this is going to run. Right now, I'm at 275 people in my in this Zoom, and that's going to grow because it's just the early minutes of the Zoom. So we are going to have all mics muted, but any questions you have as we go throughout the presentation, you're welcome to drop those in the chat. And I have some awesome APs and other principals that are going to be here, and also our onboarding and Strong Start lead to monitor that chat so that they can, and they'll come on mic and answer, say, hey, here's a question that we want answered. And then at the end, if you still have further questions, I will hang out a little bit at the end to answer any further questions. And then you also have the opportunity to send those an email or to message your homeroom teacher if there's something that's brought up, if it's a homeroom classroom situation. So welcome to our first Learning Coaches orientation. This one will be recorded as well. So if you have a friend that's also at LSOA and they were unable to attend, know that this is a recorded session. So if you need to jump in and jump out, it will be posted to our website and will also be posted to our WOW newsletter so that all of this information is clear for you to be able to see. So we're going to kick it off with going over our vision, mission, and values. And if you joined our anything that I have presented at, you'll see that I like to have some hand movements with our vision. And I hope you'll join me with that. And that is learning success opportunities for all. Here at Lone Star Online Academy, we truly, truly, truly believe in that we want to have the success of your students in learning in their educational journey. You're starting out with your students in kindergarten, first and second. We are the foundational years of their educational experience. So we truly want to set the stage so that they can be amazing learners throughout their educational future. Our mission here at LSOA is to ensure highly effective instruction for all students, learning coaches, and staff members to achieve success at LSOA and beyond. And our values are our students right at the center. And then we have teamwork, accountability, respect, and stewardship. So I want to talk about those values first to kick us off. For student-centered, I want you to know that we do prioritize the individual needs and aspirations of each one of our students, ensuring that their learning experience is tailored to foster growth, curiosity, and academic excellence. Now, I know that it's the beginning of the school year, and you may have seen some schedule changes and some things that kind of start us off in a little bit of a rocky page, but I want you to know that we have 4,200 kids just at our primary campus, and we are at 10,000 as a LSOA school. So with that amount of students, sometimes that leads to schedule change needs, or it may lead to some wonkiness with your schedule, but know that we're working through all of those changes. If you've sent us the email, you've sent a request, it is being handled. It just takes time whenever you're moving a machine of 10,000 students, and you have, a few hands that are handling those to ensure that we're doing it with fidelity. The second thing we have here is teamwork. We believe in the power of collaboration among our students, educators, and families. That teamwork between our learning coach, which is you, and us is so essential in order to make an awesome learning environment for your students. We will thrive when we work together, we share ideas, and we support each other in the common goal, which is your students' learning. We hold ourselves accountable and our students accountable for their learning and their actions. We are transparent, and we have that commitment to foster a culture of responsibility and continuous improvement. So anytime you send us concerns, we take those to heart and we try to improve practices as necessary. Respect, we cultivate an environment of mutual respect where diversity is celebrated and every member of our community feels valued and heard. And when we're talking about respect, that I want you to keep that in the forefront of your mind when you're having those communications with, and I say the same thing to our teachers when they're having communications with you and your students, that we all maintain that respectfulness among that communication. And then stewardship. Everyone, principal, teachers, students, caregivers, and learning coaches, take responsibility for the well-being and success of our educational community. Our purpose today is to provide our learning coaches with the essential duties and tasks to ensure a successful school year, and then give a brief overview of some of those important student handbook items. This is a quick glimpse at what our agenda is going to be today. It's long and lengthy. That's why I've given you an hour so that we can make sure that we cover all those top questions. And so I'll stop periodically after I cover a particular information so that if there's a question that deals with that, and one of my awesome support people here will help me with answering those questions. So first thing, let's learn about LSOA and who LSOA is. We are Lone Star Online Academy. Our mascot is Tex, and he's a star. Our colors are red, blue, and gold. And we have campuses from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, 3 different campuses taking care of that. So there's 3 different principals. So I am your principal over kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, but there's also Miss Henderson, who is over elementary, and Miss Punkstein, who is over middle school, and that's 6 through 8. We opened in 2021 as a part of our virtual public school in partnership with Roscoe Collegiate ISD. So they are the ISD that houses our public school, and we are subject to the same rules and regulations as of Texas Education Agency, just like a brick and mortar public school is. So we know you are schooling from home. We caution from the word homeschool because this is a public school that you do in your home, but we still have all of those public school rules and regulations to follow here at LSOA. The first regulation that we need to talk about is our classroom attendance. We do have attendance measures here, so it's a little bit different than brick and mortar, but so I want to go over those in detail so you understand how attendance is calculated and what is going to make sure that your students are counted here, present. So the first thing you're going to do is make sure that when you log into the OLS for any kind of learning, that your student is the one that's learning it, is logged in, not the learning coach. If it happens, if that accidentally happens and your student is counted absent, you're going to need to contact attendance@lsoa.org in order to get that corrected. But students login is the first step. Learning coaches and students have logins, but whenever it comes to student learning or attending any kind of classes or completing OLS work, that needs to happen in the student account in order to get accounted here or in attendance. So how is attendance calculated? We ask that your students attend all of their live required classes. And that means that's about 2.5 hours. Right now, to kick us off, we're at about 1.5 hours. But as the school year goes, those numbers sometimes grow as we see the interventions that your students need, and we offer those in those small group intervention times. The second thing is that we have online lessons that take place, and depending on your students' educational, where they are at educationally and the amount of time you want to spend there, you could spend an average of 4 hours. Some spend less, some spend more, but you're looking at about between 6 and 7.5 hours for your students to be online working on school. We strongly encourage that you take breaks, you take lunch, you take recess, those things off the computer to get your kiddo away from the computer. But that is about the approximate time that it takes. We recommend that you log in at 8 a.m. because attendance is taken at 10 a.m. and students will receive an absent note if they have not logged in before 10 a.m. Just to let you know, they'll receive a notification your student is currently counted absent if they are not logged in before 10 a.m. So don't be surprised by that. We also have optional class times here on our campus that can be anything from social hour clubs to electives. Attendance is taken in those. It's not required, but we strongly encourage that you go. Our electives classes are some of the most fun classes we have on our campus, and we have some really what I like to call YouTube stars in those classrooms that truly entertain your students. Those are extra attendance, but they are not, and sometimes they're required attendance if there's no other live class that day. All right, so any questions about what is the expectation for the time that you can be on the computer, or attendance, how to be logged, like what attendance is taken, how you're counted here? Do I need to make any clarifying points, Mr. Maitland, Ms. Acosta, Ms. Hamlin? Okay. See head shaking. All right. So let's talk about excused and unexcused. If you've ever been in a brick and mortar situation, you know that this is the case. You will have absences, and they're coded one of two ways. Excused absences, which means you have turned in documentation for the reason why you were absent, and unexcused means that you have not turned in the documentation or it was not an allowable absence excuse. So the first thing you're going to do is always notify your teacher when you're going to be absent, and then you're also going to submit the absence form. When you notify your teacher, they're going to respond back with the form that says, please complete this. It's also everywhere you can look that's in a learning coach's resource, and you're going to submit your absence there. Excused illnesses are illnesses with a doctor's notes if it's 3 or more days. So if you're ill, you have an excused absence. If it's 3 or more days, we ask for a doctor's note. Bereavement. That means you can have that between 3 and 5 days, especially if travel is required because of it. We also have doctor's appointments with the doctor's note, religious holidays, required court appearances, and then technical difficulties with a case number from K-12 tech support. So if you're having an issue logging in, something's going on with your computer, you have to reach out to that tech support and get a case number in order to be counted excused. For unexcused absences, if you choose to take a vacation and you do not log in and you do not complete your work, that is not an excuse for school, so it'll be coded unexcused. You will be counted absent and unexcused. Second, no internet. Third, no laptop or computer. Now, for the no internet, that means there has not been a natural disaster of some sort, like Houston got hit with weather this last spring and everyone was out of internet. That is one case where it's more of a natural disaster situation. But if you just lose power that day, you should have a backup plan in those cases. Failure to log in classes or complete online lessons, you're not going to be excused. A parent or family member's appointment. So if the doctor's note has to be for the student, not the parent. Offline work unless the teacher was informed and approved. So excused absences will remain unexcused until documentation is received. That means if you fall in that excused category, so in one of these categories, if you do not submit your absence form, then you will remain coded unexcused. Okay.
Elsie, we have quite a few questions in the chat regarding mandatory hours. So there are questions, something along the lines of, do they stay logged in for 7.5 hours? My class says 8:30 a.m., but on here it says 8 a.m. 10 a.m. is our new login time, questions like that.
Okay, so we recommend that you log in at 8 a.m. You are not logging into a class. You're logging into your system as the student so that they can be counted present, and you're checking their plan and you're saying, hey, let me see what is going on today. Maybe eating some breakfast, getting started to see what the plan is. Our first class right now at the primary campus is at 8:30, and it is our morning meeting, and it is required. You will see that every day on your plan. 4 days a week, it's morning meeting, and 1 day it's going to be snapshots time. So most days you will be logging into a classroom at 8:30 a.m. For a live class. Live classes are most of the time between 30 and 45 minutes. They're spread somewhere in your morning, and then the rest of that time is your online lessons. So that is your OLS work that will be popping up next week. Most of your lessons will pop up next week, but this week your focus is that online, it's introduction to online learning. When you start every day, you need to check your plan, all right? You're not logging in at 10 a.m. You're logging in between 8 and 8:30 to check your plan and then join your live classes and then work on your OLS work. 10 a.m., if you have not logged in by 10 a.m., you will receive a notification that you have been counted absent. And that absence will go away if you log in and complete your coursework and you watch your recordings, but you're going to get a notification at 10 a.m. that says, bing, 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 you have not logged in today. You will be counted absent if you do not. And then if you don't, you get counted absent. All right. Hopefully that clarifies some of those questions. And then the 7.6 to 7.5 hours, I would highly encourage that you do not stay logged in for a straight 6 to 7 hours on the computer, especially for my sweet kindergarten, first and second grade babies. I would highly encourage that you're stepping away from that computer when you're not in a live class and taking a break and going and getting some sunshine and coming back in and doing that work. You have that entire day. We work here at LSOA, my teachers and my staff work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, but you are welcome to determine how you would like to handle that 7.5 hours. We just want you to know the expectation is somewhere between 6 and 7 hours of work that's going to be required on the computer, and we highly encourage breaks and recess and lunch and snacks and playtime and all the things that a kindergarten, first and second grade student needs. All right. Moving to reporting. When a student is absent, an absent form needs to be submitted within 3 days. You can find a link by notifying a teacher or looking at the Learning Coaches resource. If you need to contact tech support, again, reach out to your teacher, or that is in our Learning Coaches resource. I would like to call your Learning Coaches resource your best friend. Every question you have that has to do with anything to do with LSOA and any kind of forms, links, questions, you can find there. And that's your first point to look at. And then contact your homeroom teacher if you don't find what you're looking for. But everything you would need will be in there. And it's a wonderful support for all of our parents that is worked on by our parent and family engagement specialists who are in constant contact with parents about what the needs are. So please, please look there. So reporting absences, you're going to submit that form within 3 days. Excused absences will remain unexcused until documentation, and it is your responsibility to make sure that you have submitted that. If you let your teacher know, that form is still required. You're going to let your teacher know, they'll send back the form, make sure the form is completed. All right. I would suggest if you have an internet outage, you have any of that, you keep your teacher's contact information offline somewhere, like on a sticky note, my favorite thing in the whole entire world, and have it, close to a computer in case you have an internet outage or something happens where you can send them a quick text so that you can let them know that your student's going to be absent, and they can send you that form so that you can make sure it's completed upon your return within 3 days. Right. So checklist. Here's how you're going to say, I was present today. Did I attend my required live class connects? Check. Did I complete my online assignments? Check. Did I attend any optional live classes? Check. And if one of those is not true, did I view any recordings of classes? Check. If you can answer yes to any of the above questions, your attendance will be marked present for that day. Let that one sit for a second so you understand. All right. So that is my conversation about attendance. Are there any more clarifying remarks needed for attendance before I move to students, classes, and lessons?
Well, if you finish all the work with our student, do we still have to do a total of all 7 hours? And can students work ahead or do things quicker?
So our guidance for you is to work on what's in the plan for that student's day. We do not encourage working ahead because our live class connects correspond with what's going on in our OLS, mostly so that they're teaching the skills, and then your students work on the skills and you work on those skills with your students. So we encourage that you stay in pattern on what you're on your plan. And no, if your student can get everything done in a shorter amount of time, there's not a amount of hours that we calculate. It's just that's the recommended hours to know that you need to set aside in your day. We have some of our GT students who can get things completed in 3 to 4 hours. Some of our higher achieving students, then they're logged out and they're doing other exploratory activities with their parents. But some students take that full 7 hours. So you just have to gauge where your students' capabilities are. Okay.
If they don't attend optional classes, are they still counted as absent?
No. Let's look back at this list. If you can answer yes to any of these, did you attend your required live classes? Check, you're here. That's one check. Did you complete my online assignments? I logged in and completed online assignments. Check, I'm here. Did I attend any optional live classes? Check, I am here. Did I review any recordings of our class? Yes. So if you can answer yes to any of the above questions, your attendance has been marked for that day. So it just takes one of those to be counted here. We strongly, strongly encourage that you're attending all live classes and you're completing all assignments daily, or you will get really behind. But we understand sometimes things happen. So if you decide to watch a recording or you have to miss an optional class, that is not going to count against your attendance. But remember, if you're going to review a recording, it has to be within 24 hours of the recording. So 24 hours of that class to be counted here. Okay. Let's talk about students, classes, and lessons. This is a poor picture, but I'm going to try to explain it as best as you can, of a student's OLS, their online learning system. So on the side to the left, you're going to see over here, you have your student up at the top. This student is Jack. The first thing he's going to see on his plan is his courses. The second is going to be the plan. The third will be messages, and then fourth will be resources. That's going to be on the left side of his screen. If you click courses, that's going to list all the courses of the student. And if you click plan, which is what we encourage everyone to do every day, that is going to have your live class connects and all the lessons that are due that day. The students do begin lessons their first day of school. So that was the introduction to online learning, and then all other lessons. You may see PE, music, those things are still being changed a little bit, but all core curriculum lessons start on Monday of next week. We give you 3 days to get acquainted to the systems, do all the things in there, finish your introduction to online learning, and then we jump into our core content. But in that plan is where you're going to find your live class connect schedule and all the lessons that are your student is responsible for that day. Here where it says my students, if you're looking at as the LC view, you can see here the same thing if you log in, where it's your schedule, courses, and more. It's where you access your students' grades. So you can see how they're doing in their classroom. If you have more than one student, it'll have all of your students that are listed for that OLS, okay? But this is the LC view. If you are logged into a LC view as the learning coach, your student, and you try to complete any assignments, or you're attending live class connects, your students will not be counted present. This is here for you to be a support to your student, but not count towards attendance. Right, some tips for a strong start to the year is, first off, you log into the OLS every day. You should be reading your email 2 times a day. At the beginning of the year, the email is heavy. As we go throughout the year, it lessens up, unless you are someone who likes to communicate with email. But you should be getting weekly emails from your teacher, bi-weekly emails from myself or someone on our administrative team, and then any kind of attendance reminders, anything from our special services of reminders come through email. Second, to attend and participate, your live required class connects. If you're not attending live class connects, you're not getting that teacher time with a certified teacher. And so it's really, really important that your students are in there and learning from that certified teacher, so that way they can clarify any misunderstandings, help support your students' learning, and also help you support your student best. Third, we would love that you complete that IOL Introduction to Online Learning course. That really should have been completed by today, and you should have been working on it this week. But goal is completion of that IOL course today. If you don't get it completed by today, you may want to make up some time over the weekend or on Monday morning. You're going to attend optional class connects. You're going to have a notebook or folder for each class to stay organized. You're going to communicate with your teachers and support staff. They need to know if you're struggling. They need to know if you're absent. Go to those open office hours offered by your teacher. Reach out. When in doubt, reach out. But also understand your students, your teachers have a lot of students. And if you're reaching out to an administrator, we have anywhere between, my assistant principals at a grade level have over 1,000 on each one of their caseloads. I have over 4,000 on my caseload. So sometimes it's not immediate response, but we do make a best practice to respond to all communication within 24 hours. Our learning coach's responsibility is, we really want you to make sure that you are being that support to your student. You're logging into their CCs and encouraging them to participate. You're gonna help your students stay organized and find a place where they can focus. You're gonna make sure your student is writing things down and not doing everything in their head. You're going to check that daily plan and assignments to make sure lessons are getting done. You're going to check your grade book often, and you're communicating with your teachers. Like we said, teamwork makes the dream work. We got those learning coaches and our teachers. And when we come together and communicate and act as partners in your students' education, we can make it be much more successful. Now, if you're worried about flexibility, you're someone, you have a strong learner, you feel like your student is where they need to be academically, and you would like more flexibility, we do have a flex pathway. We are going to be having a session on September 12th. I'm going to say that again, September 12th. for anyone who is interested in the Flex program, and we encourage that you ask your homeroom teacher more information about that. If you're feeling like maybe the stringency of our program, you would like a little more flexibility in that, reach out to your homeroom teacher. But there are qualifications for that, and one of them is your student has to be on a good ground academically in order to do that, and kindergartners are not allowed to apply until second semester. So we have a full semester of introducing them to what learning looks like at LSOA before we let you have more flexibility in that. Any questions about Strong Start? Okay, if there is one, y'all can jump on the mic, but I'm going to move on to online classroom expectations. So we want to ensure a safe, respectful learning environment for all students, all members, including staff and learning coaches of LSOA, and we will follow the policy that's outlined. This comes in the student handbook and the code of conducts under the section for microphones, cameras, chat, and email. So basics here are that students use the tools appropriately. Household members are not in camera unless they are actively monitoring or supporting a student's learning. Everyone comes appropriately dressed. That includes if you're going to have a sibling in the background, that everyone, big thing is let's have shirts on, even on our sweet little 2- and 3-year-old siblings, because we cannot share those recordings if there is any nudity of any sort, whether it is a toddler up to, of course, an adult. Keep the chat box conversations related to the topic and lesson. I know at this time you have lots of questions for your teachers. Ask those questions via email, via text, via phone, not in the chat box, or come to ask for open office or attend to open office. But our chat box should be reserved for learning only. Learning coaches may monitor students' class connection times, but will reserve questions and concerns for teachers for after class via email, phone, or open office. And we're going to show respect in all ways between students and teachers. So what does that mean? Make sure we don't have adult content, profanity, drug use, gang affiliation, obscene language, profane gestures in any areas, including email, especially when it comes to profanity. When we are in the classroom, we want to have a quiet space for students to learn. So please minimize that background noise so your student can participate in class. And if you have a phone conversation or you have a TV, we ask the student not to be in that same room. Please don't share personal information in your class, because remember there's 40 to 50 other people in that room. We do not want your personal information exploited, so please do not share that within your classroom. And do not share unauthorized links. All of this policy is in our student handbook. So what are the consequences if there's an acceptable use policy violation? First thing is we may have to end class depending on the severity of it. The student or the LC may be removed from a room and not allowed back in. We may have to remove chat, camera, or mic privileges. We may not be able to share that class recording, which really harms those who possibly were absent and are not able to hear it. There will be a conference with the teacher. If we get extreme measures, there could be withdrawal and report to local authorities. But I just want you to know that this is our classroom, like our computer is our classroom, and we have to treat it like it is a classroom, and any violations would be like you would go through the code of conduct just like you would in a brick and mortar. Right, grade book and assessments. Graded work at LSOA falls into 2 categories for almost all our courses. And they carry enough weight to ensure student work indicates mastery. Our first one is computer graded assignments. They're also known as CGAs. And that is anything that's an OLS is a CGA. And those grades are automatically transferred to your grade book upon completion. Teachers do not grade them. The computer grades it for them, and it's automatically added to the grade book. The second type are teacher graded assignments, or known as TGAs. And that's anything that is done outside of the OLS. And those grades are entered by the teachers each week by Friday, and they may not be immediately available until they are entered. So know that if you have a teacher graded assignment, give your teacher grace to get those grades in. Right, what is our late work policy? Late work is accepted all the way till the end of the course until they say grade books are locked. but know that you will receive an M if it's late. It counts as a 0, but as soon as that assignment is turned in, the late work, that grade overrides that M that is in the grade book. Your OLS assessment grades are automatically updated. Teacher graded assignments, including all lessons assignments completed outside the OLS, will be entered each week, and grades will not be updated until they're entered. So M counts as a 0, it means missing. And if you turn it in, that turns into the grade that you received on that assignment. So we do accept late work. We understand sometimes late work happens, but I will tell you, you'll notice next week you start rolling in you have between 4 and 5 lessons or assignments daily. And if you get off track, I guess would be the best word to say. If you get off track, then those start piling up, and that creates a situation that's stressful for both you and your student. And that's why we strongly encourage that you log in daily. Okay, logging in daily and completing assignments is essential so that we can keep you on track, your student on track, and we don't have unnecessary stress about schoolwork. You have access to everything 24/7. You can log into your OLS at any time of day. If you're a night owl, if you're like working at 1 a.m., you can log into that OLS and see everything there. You need to check that grade book weekly as a parent. If your average is low, we encourage that you go in and check for M's or low OLS scores and review those lessons and try that assessment again. It is your responsibility as a learning coach and your student to know the grades and when action needs to be taken. If you need a reset on an assignment, that's a simple conversation between you and the homeroom teacher. They may ask that you attend a Zappa 0 or to attend a open office so that they can do some reteaching to ensure success of your student. But please, please, please be in that grade book weekly and know where your students' grades are. So let's look at what this means and some recommendations from our team. So first thing is E means it was excused. That means your student does not have to complete the assignment. M means missing. That means your student needs to complete it. It has not been turned in, and it counts as a 0 until they turn it in. So if we're looking at a grade, this 80, that shows mastery. 80 determines mastery in our grade book. Great job. Keep working hard. You can keep trying if you would like to have a higher grade. That is 100%. We are in favor of that, but 80 is mastery. If you have anything less than an 80, we ask that you redo it. So we show mastery. So a 70% is not showing mastery. We want those grades to be at 80. And definitely if you have a 50, you want to redo those assignments. If you need support, you feel like your student's not getting it, you need support in how to teach it, ask your homeroom teacher. And you also we're going to have some learning coaches supports throughout the school year, but you may want to watch a video on what would be the best way to teach this assignment and work on that. And last but not least, we have those dreadful M's. That means the student missed it and it needs to be turned in. Any questions about gradebook?
We have parents that are saying that their students are showing an F in PE class, but they have not started PE. Can we address that, please?
Yes, I can. So PE, music and art are progress-based courses. And that means that the grade book needs to be set up for your students. Right now, they may show a F. As soon as that first progress is made, it goes up. It's a little bit different than our other courses. So do not be scared by that F. It's not, if you go look at your electives welcome letter, go check in your email and look for electives welcome letter. It gives you details about what that looks like and how the electives courses run. Or you can also reach out to that teacher, okay? Reach out to that teacher if you have questions. But if you see a F currently in your student's gradebook in any electives course, do not be afraid of that. Do not say, I've already missed assignments. You are fine. It is a progress-based course, and it's just because that progress has not started. Good question. All right. Moving to required testing. We have required testing 3 times a year here at Lone Star Online Academy primary campus. It's given at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. We administer these tests individually. It's on a one-on-one basis. You have started seeing invites in Students Class Connects to get you signed up. Please, please, please ensure that you're attending those Class Connects, okay? The 2 tests that we're going to be giving is M-Class and USNS. They will be given on the same day at the same time. They are short, quick checks to start off the year to know where your student is, where they are at their stages of ready to learn, and know what your student needs a review on for each grade level. Those are required tests. The USNS is our math screener. It is our what we call our screener diagnostic, beginning of the year, set the scene, know where your students are. These tests are not graded. They will not be in your grade book. They are required by state that we start the year with a math screener and a literacy screener, which is M-Class, which is does your student know how to read, or at kindergarten, do they know their letters and sounds? And they, again, are given at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, usually between December and January, and then end of the year, April, May. They're given in class. They're administered individually, one-on-one. So it's a great opportunity for your teacher to get to know your student on a one-on-one basis, know where they are. And you'll see those invites in your Class Connect schedule next week to kick us off to start this year. The other assessment that we do have at K2 is called TELPAS, and that is only for our students who English is not their first language. We call them our emergent bilinguals, and that takes place in the spring. And we'll talk more about that, and you'll have plenty of information if your student is a student that needs to take the TELPAS test. Our kindergarten first are administered it holistically, but our second grade students are required to report in person for that test. So that means you have to go to a testing center for that test, and we will communicate all that information in January. That may have brought up some questions, but again, it is only if your student is English is not their first language. So you're a Spanish speaker in your home, you're a Russian speaker, you speak Urdu in your home, and your student does not have English as their first language, their primary language. All right, how do we communicate here at LSOA? You've probably already seen our #1 way of communication is email to kick us off, but we also support you through text and phone. Again, remember, if you're texting or calling or sending emails during live class scheduled times when your teacher is teaching, they will not be responding to those until after class in their afternoons. Next week, we're going to be chock full of all of our amazing testing. So our teachers are going to be testing one-on-one with their students all next week. So expect delays in communication. But again, reach out if you have a question. There will be answers. Text, email, phone. You need to let your teacher know what your preference is, and they will try to use that mode of communication most regularly. We also have our LC communities on Facebook. And if you have more questions about that, check out our beginning of the year emails where it's all on all the s'mores that are sent out. We have our school website that is located down at the bottom. We would ask that you star that website. It's in every email that I send to you, most likely in every email that your teachers send to you, and we keep that updated regularly. And then there's also an app for communication. What sorts of information do we provide? Important deadlines, meetings for LCs, any kind of learning coach orientations, all of those can be found there. All LSOA staff have an email address and a phone number. It should be located at the bottom of their signature, and you should be able to respond to those and get telephone calls back and forth, or send emails back and forth. And if you prefer an email versus a phone call versus an email, drop that in an email to you, and then you will get a call back. The LC community and school websites will host the most update information at all times. And who are the contacts that you can contact? Any school staff, counselor, attendance, registrar, or tech support. All right. This is a really important one, especially for someone who has received lots of emails to kick off the year. I have 4,200 students. Your teachers have between 50 and 60 students. So it's so important that in your subject line that you put your student's last name, first initial, and their student ID number. That is how we find out any kind of information about your student when you're sending an email. Start with the greeting, provide the information, close with your name so we know if this is a learning coach or a legal guardian making the request so that we can answer your questions quickly. If you don't provide that information, sometimes it's a back and forth. It's asking, hey, well, what's your student's ID number? What is your student's name? Is this the learning coach or the legal guardian making this request? So make sure if you start your email with that information, then we can reply back to you. If I just get an email that says, hey, I need my quiz reset, I'm not going to know where that came from. Okay. So make sure that you provide all of that information anytime you're sending the email. I would have my student ID somewhere close by so that you can refer to it very easily. This tech support, if I was a parent, I would be taking a screenshot right now because the tech support number is going to be your friend. When you are in a virtual world, virtual things happen, AKA there will be times when the computer messes up or your system messes up. That's just the life in a virtual school. But if you have that customer care number, they can get you a case number and it'll get things moving along faster. Some notes. Engagely is our classroom. It will have technical glitches. That is a fact of life. It's a virtual world. We're going to have things not always work perfectly. You get bumped from a room, like you get accidentally moved out of a room, please try to re-enter using your CC schedule or your browser history. If you're unable to view the entire classroom, wait until the recording is posted and you watch the recorded session. If the teacher accidentally disappears, that's why we hope our learning coaches are sitting there beside their students and supporting them. Wait 3 or 5 minutes and see if the teacher doesn't return, then exit the room. Or send a quick email to someone, but really you're waiting because sometimes that happens. Teachers have internet issues just like students do. So wait, and when in doubt, give them 3 to 5 minutes and then you may exit the room and say, hey, I'm so sorry, you were bumped from your classroom. So who should you contact when? It has to do with your schedule, lessons or quizzes, OLS, grades, students' progress, special programs, any of that, it goes to your homeroom teacher. They are your first point of contact. They are provided a wealth of information and know how to find all the answers for you. If you have a grade level concern, if you have something to do with special programs, anything to do with social emotional learning, you're going to contact your counselors. Registrars, there is a form to update emails, address, phone numbers, learning coach information. Complete that form. It is not an overnight process because we have a finite amount of people working on that, and we have a lot more of you than there are of us. So give it time. Please don't re-enter the same information on that form. It will get updated. If you've given it 72 hours and something hasn't been updated, reach out to your homeroom teacher, and then we'll check out what's going on. School contact information can be found on your Learning Coaches community or in the Learning Coach resources link. And then tech support, that's if you have an issue with a school-issued laptop, glitches in the online school or errors, or any kind of material situation that has to go with it. All right, any questions up to this point?
I think we're good at this point.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a form called the federal income form, and you will be receiving it. It's emailed via DocuSign. Our school may qualify for additional funding from state if any of the student meet the certain guidelines. It also helps us with if you need a computer for qualifications for the computer, please help us collect that necessary information so we can receive the additional state dollars, which go directly to benefit your students. Providing support for our students matters. So please fill out that federal income form so that we can help you, and it's going to come via DocuSign. Okay, it looks something like this. So what are some daily tasks for our learning coaches? We've talked about this, but I want to reiterate, you're monitoring your students' class connects, you're looking at their lessons and gradebook, looking for all the pieces of announcements and communication, and then communicate with the student's homeroom teacher first for the quickest support. And then most important, you are what I like to call the teacher in the home. We have a teacher on the screen that you see for an hour and a half to 2.5 hours a day, but you at home are our teachers in the home, and we're going to support you in that, but know that we want you to, we are here to support you in supporting your students' learning. Any kind of setup needs can be found in our new family resources. Right. Last but not least, I want you to know that we want to build strong relationships with you. We want to find out as much about you as we can, and we want you to find out as much about our teacher and be intentional in your support with your student. Okay. We believe in over communication. Like, don't be afraid to over communicate so that we have the tools to be able to support your student. That doesn't mean send 15 emails, but that means send an email, tell us everything you need us to know about your student, so then we can gather that data and be able to support them, okay? Student to teacher, you allow your student to develop that relationship with your teacher, and to do that, they have to be in our Live Class Connects. So please, please, please have your students coming to the Live Class Connects so they can build that relationship with their teacher. And then regardless of your feelings towards your teachers, we want you to have a blank slate. Virtual learning is different than probably what you experienced as a student, and know that each and every one of us truly, truly believe in your student. We care about your student. We care about your student's needs, and we want to see them be the best. As a parent, we have parents and we have learning coaches. Not all of our parents are learning coaches. Our parent expectations is that you're providing that proper care for your child's health and well-being. You're speaking to a teacher to find out how the student's doing. You're reviewing grades. As a learning coach, you're that student's expert, okay? You are going to be the one that knows most about your student. You're going to provide the daily structure with home learning to be successful in those Live Class Connects. You're going to try different daily schedules to see what works best for your students. You're going to give guide students through completing their lessons, ensuring those students are attending all their live lessons with their certified teachers. You're going to read and respond to school communication, and you're going to support those students with the skills so they can work more independently over time. Kindergarten, first and second, is a hands-on learning approach. It's that way in brick and mortar. It's in that way in your home. As your students grow as learners, eventually you can kind of start taking those hands away. But right now, we want all hands on deck to be the best learners, best support for your students. And what are our teachers going to be doing? They're going to facilitate that learning coach and parent collaboration. They're going to ensure that all students and learning coaches are familiar with the necessary elements in the online learning. That's the point of our orientations to kick off our year. We're going to maximize that academic learning time through management of classroom activities. We're going to encourage a classroom culture where mistakes are accepted, because that's a critical component of learning. I like to say mistakes happen. They happen, all right? And we learn from them. If you are making a mistake, it is a learning opportunity. And then we're going to communicate regularly with everyone in order to best support your student. I talked about that daily schedule. Here's a glimpse of it. This is a kindergarten schedule, but no, if you notice, 8 to 8:30, we're logging in. It's breakfast. 8:30 to about 11:30, somewhere in there, we're going to have some lunch and breaks and classroom time. But usually between 11 and 12, you get a break, and we're doing our teaching in the morning. And then the afternoon is small group interventions or working on OLS work. That is all I have for you today. I'm going to hang out for a few minutes if there's any particular questions that I have not answered. And I hope you all that joined us got some questions answered, kind of know your expectations, and know that we are here every step of the way to support you. I'm going to stop recording so that I can answer any questions that are specific.
If you have questions, please put them in the chat so that we can read them out loud if you have your hand raised. At this time, we've been answering questions. Elsie, I would highly discourage, unless you are an LSOA employee, from answering tons of questions, because sometimes misinformation gets spread. So just be careful about that. We don't want to cause any more confusion. There's a lot of questions about the in-person outings and how those will be managed and scheduled.
So we do have in-person outings. Right now, we have 2 to 3 scheduled. You will receive an email giving you lots of information. Shelly is in here. Shelly, are you still here?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give a little bit more information about our in-person outings? Just a brief overview.
Sure. Our plan right now is to have at least one in the fall and one in the spring, and you will get more information about that. Also, our learning coach community is under construction right now, but that should be up and running hopefully very soon. And once that is up and going, we really, really, really want to encourage you to join that, because you'll be able to make a lot of social connections there, and kind of start to plan outings of your own, meet people that are near you, that sort of thing, because we do have a great big state of Texas to serve. So once we get in that learning coach community, community, you will be able to start to make those connections, and be able to do those on your own. But yes, we will have LSOA sponsored events, one for the fall and one for the spring.
Right. We have some questions about bilingual school. We are a ESL, what's used to be known as ESL, but it's called Emergent Bilingual, but we are a English only school. I will tell you that at the beginning, especially for a new English speaker, it's a little overwhelming, but we ask you to give that student time, start learning, make sure they are in all of those live class connects. And you also will have an emergent bilingual case manager that also can provide support to you, and you'll see some of those ESL courses in your live class connect schedule as well. So reach out to them, let your homeroom teacher know. It's okay at the beginning, it may be overwhelming, but as your student learns, it'll help. Anything that has to do with specialized programming, whether that is special ed, dyslexia, 504, any of those questions, please will you direct those specific questions to your homeroom teacher and they will point you in the right direction. We do honor all of those. We have all of those departments. We honor all students' IEPs with all plans. You just have to give us the time to be able to receive those plans, get them in the system, get students placed where they need to be, because we had a lot of students enroll, over 4,000 students enroll to kick us off the school year. So we're still going through those and making sure plans are correct, but we do honor those. And if it's not currently on your student's plan, know that it will we'll be receiving those records and you'll be receiving invites for specific needs. Okay, but reach out to your homeroom teacher.
There are questions about how to access their student's gradebook from the Learning Coach account.
So when you log into your student's Learning Coach account, let me go back to that screen. And I will share it. And right now, you're probably not going to see anything because courses haven't started. But once you do, you should see each one of your kids' courses. And when you click on their course, there'll be a progress tab and there'll be a gradebook tab. And that's how you access the gradebook.
Are there any clubs available?
We do have clubs. We will be kicking off signups for clubs the first week of September. So be looking for that, homeroom teachers as well as administrators, and it'll be on our website. So look for that first week of September to be seeing signups for clubs, and then we'll get started with clubs in the month of September after we get past the beginning of the year testing and all of the, beginning of the year jitters.
We do offer special education testing. If you have a request for any type of special education testing, please send that request over to your student's teacher and we can get that processed.
If you want your student taken out of elective, we do, if it's for a religious reason, we do allow you to be exempt from music. You need to reach out to your homeroom teacher. The other ones, they are mandatory classes as part of our plan.
A lot of people have been providing information that students do not have class connects next week. Can you clarify that?
Yes, by the end of today's Friday, all of our teachers are working on that this afternoon. So you will see class connects in your schedule I would expect by the end of the day today. If not, logging in on Monday morning, they will be there. Or if you want to check on Sunday. Stride skills will be underneath resources. It's not going to be a part of your student's daily plan.
If you have questions about GT, you can also email your student's teacher and we can get you headed to the right person.
I I see a question. If you have multiple new students, if you're talking about learning coaches orientation, you'll just be waiting for that campus. I'm the first learning coaches orientation. I think there's a couple scheduled for next week, but you're welcome to reach out to each one of your students' homeroom teachers and say, hey, when is there going to be another learning coaches orientation? If you're referring to your students' actual in-class orientation, all students should have their own computer that they work on, and they're going to be expected to there'll probably be overlapping class times. And so they will need to each be on their own computer completing their orientation with their teacher. My suggestion is that your focus is on your youngers that need some extra help, and those olders can be self-sufficient, and then you can go through things and watch recordings with them later in the day. We do have ESL classes, and I saw someone talking about if your student speaks more Spanish than English, we do have ESL classes. They will be a part of your Class Connect. You're welcome to seek outside support, but we do support all learners, whether they speak English or not. We're just an English-only school. GT is gifted and talented. There's not a phone number to request a loaner computer. There is if you go look at the email that you use to go to this website, go to this Learning Coaches Orientation, you're going to click on the Learning Coaches Resources More, and it is in there, or you can send your teacher an email and they will send you the form.
Elsie, I've also dropped the link for the Learning Coach More in the chat box a few times. It's there.
Awesome. If you look underneath, Kimberly Acosta has sent it to everyone, and it says securesmore.com. Correct. You do not need to be logging in for a full 7.5 hours. You need to log in for Class Connects, complete OLS. How you choose to log in that time is up to you. All right, we're at about 1:58. If there are any other specific questions that you need answered, we welcome you to ask those to your homeroom teacher, or feel free to send in an email. We are so glad that you came. We're so glad that you are here to support your students, and we wish you all the best for this school year, because we really, really, truly believe that our LSOA stars are out of this world. Thank you so much.